What's going on, guys, and welcome to my ranking tier list for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, the 2023 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. One of the most boring races I've ever witnessed, especially for a race at Baku. Baku usually has a blistering amazing race. We had technically two races this weekend with the sprint as well and two qualifyings, and yeah, none of them were really great. I mean, I'd say the race qualifying was interesting, was quite good because, we had the somewhat of surprise of Leclerc on pole. We had a couple of crashes in that qualifying as well. And the shootout qualifying was okay, a little bit more predictable. Leclerc still managed to get that pole, but yeah, a little bit. I'd almost say that the qualifying was more exciting than the races. The sprint shootout was okay. It was fine, but then the race itself was really boring. I'd say quite easily the weakest episode. Yeah, weakest episode of F1 this year, sure. Weakest race of the season so far. So, anyway, let's get into the tier list. So, we're starting with Alexander Albon. He finished in, what position did he finish? 12th, I believe. I think he finished 12th by my little thing here. I actually made some notes of rankings next to me. So, yeah, hopefully I'll have a better idea of where I'm putting these guys. So for Albon, P12, I'm going to put him in B. I somewhat expected him to score points, I guess, because we only had two DNFs in the race, those being De Vries and Zhou. And yeah, I guess with DNFs, I would have expected Albon to score points. And he didn't start in the points for the main race, I don't think. He started in the points for the sprint and finished just one position away from points there. Two positions away from points in the race here. But yeah, I think he did a good job. A decent qualifying for the race, because I'm doing this. Okay, so this is mainly for the race. The majority of my vote here is for the race, the actual main race. But I do also factor in qualifying and I guess sprint qualifying and the sprint race in this example, but this is more so for the actual race itself. So yeah, I'm going to go for a B for Albon. Fernando Alonso ended up finishing P4. Didn't have the best qualifying, but to be fair, wasn't his fault. His car was having DRS issues. And then in the race, yeah, beat Sainz. Did a great little move on Sainz. I think it was on the restart. And yeah, just ended up catching right up to the back of Leclerc at the end. So I mean, I think I've got to give Alonso an S. There wasn't anything more he could do. He fought his way back up the order after the disappointment with his car issues in qualifying. Got past Hamilton and got past Sainz, and then give it a couple of laps, he probably would have got past Leclerc. So yeah, really good from Alonso there. Valtteri Bottas finished dead last of the people that finished the race. I don't know what's going on with Bottas. What is happening? He pit again. I think he did this in a race. I don't know if it was the last race or the one before. He pit like 3 or 4 times. Just what are they doing? Are they just doing testing on his car? Like, I don't know if he's just got mad issues with the car, because Zhou doesn't seem to be struggling as much as he is. Yeah, I'm not going to go F because he didn't crash or anything, but I just don't know. E for Bottas. What is Valtteri doing this season? He had a pretty good Bahrain and then has just been honestly diabolical. He's probably been the worst driver these last 3 races. But yeah, pitting so many times and just not having the pace. Don't know what's going on with him there. Nick De Vries, for me, is an F. He had a terrible weekend. He crashed in Q1 of the main qualifying. He, I believe, did get to the end of sprint qualifying, but qualified last of the people that actually finished, from what I remember. What happened in the sprint? In the sprint, I can't remember if he finished or not in the sprint. There was one of the races where I think it was the main race where he hit the wall and didn't finish. The sprint, I think he finished, but didn't do great, and definitely a weekend to forget for De Vries. He's not had a good start to this season, rookie career and everything, a rookie season. He's not had a good start. Definitely not. Pierre Gasly, another driver who's had a pretty bad start to the season, but also, yeah, not. I mean, after the amazing look he had in Australia last time out, but then the big issue at the end with crashing into his teammate. This time, I mean, wasn't his fault in practice because his car got destroyed, so he pretty much got no practice. He then broke the car in qualifying and then just kind of couldn't get anywhere in the race. So I'm going to put Gasly in D. I think, not having pretty much any practice definitely didn't help him, but yeah, didn't do himself any favors either by smacking into the wall, and then just didn't make the progress through the race, either race. Next up, we've got Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton, I think, did pretty well. He did all right. He got very unlucky with the safety car, came into the pits, and then the safety car came out, so he got shoved behind his teammates and a few other cars, but actually fought his way back through pretty well. So I'm going to go in A for Hamilton. We've almost got a person in every category. Is my next person going to be in the C category? Oh, might be actually. This might be interesting. But yeah, Hamilton, really, really good. Not S performance, but yeah, still very good. Hulkenberg goes in C. We have one person in each category to start this video. That's pretty great. Yeah, Hulkenberg, I don't know what happened. His qualifying, it qualified pretty well from what I remember for the main qualifying, but then had issues in the sprint qualifying. Didn't go as well. Both hashes out in Q, or maybe it was the other way around. Maybe it was the race. Both hashes were out in Q1. I can't remember. I think it was actually, yeah. And then, yeah, in the race, I don't know, he did that strategy where he was like going almost all the way to the end, like Ocon, on those tires, those hard tires, and yeah, ultimately didn't have the pace once they wore off. Kept with Ocon for quite a while, but in the end fell away, and yeah, it's got to be a C. Nothing terrible, nothing great. Leclerc, I've got to give him an S. Yes, he did get caught by Alonso at the end and almost overtaken. Given it another couple of laps, he probably would have been overtaken by Alonso, but he stuck that Ferrari on pole not once but twice this weekend, and he put up a decent enough fight. I mean, he knew that he couldn't fight the Red Bulls. They were much quicker, but he did a good job. He was on the podium for both the races, so I've got to give him an S. After the awful start to the season he's had, this was at least a step in the right direction. Just those Red Bulls were way too quick. Kevin Magnussen, I've got to also put Magnussen in C once again. He had issues in the main race qualifying. A car issue meant he couldn't get out of Q1, and then I think in the sprint he did a little bit better, got into Q2, and yeah, he did okay in the race, but nothing amazing. P13 finish. Lando Norris, pretty good result from him. He finished P9, I believe that is, in the end. And yeah, got stuck behind Ocon and Hulkenberg for a long time. Just couldn't get past them because they were just holding everyone up. But once he did get unleashed, and he did get a pretty good move. I think it was Norris who got a good move on Hulkenberg, actually. So I'm going to put Norris in A. He's had a pretty bad start to the season as well, and I think he just got stuck behind those two cars and stuck in the dirty air and the DRS, in a bit of a DRS train. There's not much more he could have done. So, yeah, I'm going to give him an A. Ocon, yeah, Ocon did okay. He did the whole, stopping on literally the last lap, and then there was that whole thing of there was people just in the pit lane, closing the pit lane off, and he come into the pits. Really scary. Do not know what that all is about. That needs changing. That needs looking into for sure. But yeah, all in all, it didn't really work out for him. No points for Ocon. He did start from the pit lane in both races, actually, I think. So I'm just going to give him a C. I think he had a better weekend than Gasly, but it's not really saying much. Sergio Perez. It's an easy S. Dominated this weekend. Was legitimately quicker than Max. In the sprint, yes, Max had damage, but Sergio seemed to be catching him, before the whole safety car thing anyway. So I think he had the pace over Verstappen this weekend. Verstappen said he had some issues in the race, some engine problems, but honestly, I don't know, maybe he did, but I think Sergio just had the better of Max this weekend. Very rare for that to happen, but he just dominates Baku, so an easy S, driver of the day for sure for Sergio Perez. Oscar Piastri finished P11, 1 out of the points. Unfortunate for him. I'm going to give him a B. Not really much to say, really. He was apparently really sick this weekend, so did a good job in all fairness. But yeah, I'm going to put him in B, just behind Norris. George Russell, bit of a tipsy-turvy weekend. Didn't get out of Q2 for the main race qualifying. Qualified 4th and finished 4th in the sprint. And then finished P8 in the main race. Was ahead of Hamilton, but then Yeah, got overtaken by him. I can't remember exactly what happened. Okay from Russell, nothing great. Definitely a better weekend for Hamilton this time. But yeah, and there was the whole thing with him and Verstappen as well, making contact. I personally think it was just a racing incident, but it is what it is. Carlos Sainz, it was difficult for Sainz. I did have Sainz as a B originally, but I think I'm going to have to put him as a C because he was 8 tenths off Leclerc in qualifying. I'm not sure how big of a gap that was in the sprint qualifying. I don't think it was quite as much because he qualified P. Well, was he P4 or was that in the race? He was P4. Can't remember. I think it was. I don't know. He was 8 tenths off in the main qualifying anyway, and then in the race he kept with him for a while. He wasn't far off, but ended up finishing I think 25 seconds behind Leclerc in the end. So although it was a stellar weekend for Leclerc, it's a C for Sainz. Yeah. Not just qualifying alone, being 8 tenths off is just, it's not where you want to be. Logan Sargent, another one who was looking so good at points, got out of Q1 for the first time. Got out of Q1 in both sessions technically, but crashed in the sprint qualifying, which meant that he couldn't take part in Q2, and then he couldn't even take part in the sprint, and then in the race he just didn't really do a whole lot and fell down the order. So I'm going to give him a D. I think just because he did get through to Q2, mainly for the main race, not really counting the sprint because he crashed. That's one of the main reasons he got through. I think because of that, he gets a D, but ultimately it's not good enough. He needs to iron out those mistakes. Him and De Vries at the moment are kind of the two. They're almost the Latifi replacements. They're not that bad. They're not that bad yet, don't worry. But they're getting to the point where it's two rookies, yes, but they're making a lot of mistakes and not doing great. So definitely want to see better stuff from Sargent. Lance Stroll, interesting weekend for him. He did fine. I'm going to put him in B. Yeah, also screwed over by the whole DRS issues thing, but ultimately just didn't have the pace of Alonso this weekend. He was with him for quite a while because there was that whole thing of I'm not going to try and overtake Alonso, and that was some great teammate stuff there, some great team play. But yeah, ultimately just didn't have the pace of Alonso, so I think a B's good to stick him there. Yuki Tsunoda, another one who had a pretty topsy-turvy weekend, but ended up finishing P10. Had a very good qualifying for the main race. Did not have a good qualifying he just missed out, didn't he? He just missed out on getting through to Q2 in the sprint thanks to the safety car, the red flag, whatever it was. Just missed out. And he was literally about to cross the line like a second later. That was really unfortunate because he would have made it through to Q2. And then I think it would have been the sprint where he hit the wall, although I think that was damage. It was a collision with De Vries apparently, although I haven't seen an on-board or anything from that because they didn't show it. And that caused him to then understeer into the wall, put his tyre off, so that wasn't good. And then in the race, though, he finished P10, dropped a few places, but ultimately that AlphaTauri didn't look, it's not great. It looked better this weekend, of course, but yeah, I think considering the issues he had were pretty much not really his fault, and because he did finish once again in the points in the race, I'm going to put him in A. I think he's absolutely demolishing his teammate and doing a really good job. Max Verstappen, for me, it's got to be an A for Verstappen. He was bested by Perez on pretty much every occasion apart from the main race qualifying. Yes, he got unlucky with the whole safety car thing in the race, ended up finishing second, but I think Perez could have, he would have either been closer and fought for it, or, could have probably overtaken him and got it anyway, because he was within DRS when that safety car came out. He, caught back up again to Max. So, yeah, it's an A from me for Max. Few little mistakes. The Russell thing wasn't really his fault, but I don't think it was really Russell's fault either, and he wasn't very mature about how he handled that situation. So yeah, an A for Verstappen. He got beaten by Perez. And then finally, Zhou Guanyu ended up finishing second to last because he didn't finish the race, had a mechanical issue. It's just kind of a average weekend, didn't really see much of him all weekend, but still a fair way on top of Bottas, it seems. Although I think Bottas did beat him in qualifying for the main race or for the sprint, one of the two. But yeah, still for Zhou, Alfa Romeo, they seem to be absolutely nowhere at the moment. It's got to be a C. But anyway, that is my ranking of all the drivers from the 2023 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. A lot in C there, a lot in B, A, and S though. 3 in the S tier. It was difficult to do it because ultimately, not a very exciting race. Really, really bland race, especially for Baku. So hoping for more next time out. I think we're racing, where are we next? I think Miami next, aren't we? Okay, might not be the best race. We'll see, I guess. We've only raced in Miami once before, so we'll see what it's like the second time around. But there we go. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.